Ladies and gentlemen, there are experiences in life that remain unseen, not because they are absent, but because they unfold in the silent depths of the human soul. Among these is the strange and paradoxical existence of the intuitive introvert, a person whose very way of being is divided between the surface world we all share and the hidden world that few dare to enter. They live not in one reality but in two, carrying within them a perception so refined that it both illuminates and isolates. Tonight, I invite you to step into that inner landscape to understand not only the gift of such perception, but also the hidden curse that comes with it. There exists a quiet struggle in those who carry both the burden and the gift of being an intuitive introvert, and at the center of that struggle lies the experience of dual reality. It is the sense of living in two worlds at once, of walking through the physical, tangible landscape of everyday life, while simultaneously inhabiting an invisible, inner dimension that others rarely perceive. To the outside observer, such a person may appear reserved, perhaps distracted, maybe even detached, yet within them an entire symphony of impressions, insights, and intuitions unfolds continuously, a world as alive and as real as the one that surrounds them. This duality begins with perception itself. The average person engages with reality as it presents itself, conversations, tasks, obligations, and the constant flow of external demands. But the intuitive introvert's gaze is not satisfied with surfaces. They cannot help but notice what lingers between words, the tension in the silence after a statement, the unspoken motives beneath gestures. A simple interaction at a workplace or a social gathering, which for others is nothing more than a casual exchange, can for them become layered with meaning, evoking questions about authenticity, hidden dynamics, and deeper truths that the majority overlook. The outer world is relentless in its pace, filled with deadlines, chatter, and the celebration of extroversion. It insists upon participation, visibility, and constant performance. Yet the inner world of the intuitive introvert resists this current. It is slow, symbolic, filled with whispers from dreams, archetypal patterns, and visions of what might be possible rather than what is immediately seen. The friction between these two realities is often exhausting, for the intuitive introvert cannot fully abandon either. They must participate in the world that demands productivity and presence, while simultaneously feeling drawn into the inner depths that ask for reflection, solitude, and silence. To live with such dual perception is to constantly translate. They walk among others, engaged in conversations that skim the surface, while internally they are weaving meanings, connecting invisible threads, sensing possibilities that reach far beyond the present moment. This creates a feeling of distance, not because they wish to withdraw, but because the gap between what they perceive and what others acknowledge is vast. The world celebrates the concrete, the immediate, the obvious. The intuitive introvert often sees the symbolic, the distant, the hidden. In this way, they feel both present and absent at once. The dual reality can bring with it a sense of alienation. Imagine living in a room full of people, all of whom are focused on the same game being played, yet you alone notice the patterns on the walls, the shadows shifting in the corners, the subtle cracks in the ceiling that no one else seems to see. To speak of these things would disrupt the flow of the game, perhaps even invite ridicule, so instead you remain silent, nodding along, while internally you are aware of something entirely different. This silence, repeated again and again, becomes a kind of barrier that separates the intuitive introvert from others. And yet, this duality is not only a source of struggle, but also of richness. Because they see beyond the immediate, intuitive introverts often sense potential long before it manifests. They anticipate the arc of relationships, the rise and fall of opportunities, the hidden motives that guide decisions. The outer world, for all its noise and certainty, often overlooks the undercurrents that shape the future, but the inner gaze of the intuitive introvert lingers there, tracing the hidden architecture of events, sensing the invisible forces at play. This tension between worlds cannot be easily reconciled. To lean entirely into the outer reality is to betray the inner depth that sustains them. To dwell only in the inner reality is to risk becoming disconnected, isolated, even consumed by visions. Thus, they walk a fragile line, one foot in the world of appearances, the other in the world of meaning. It is not a choice they make, but a condition they inherit, a way of being that defines them. The experience of dual reality can feel at times like a burden, a weight that separates them from the flow of life, yet it is also the very thing that gives their existence texture, complexity, and depth. For in perceiving two realities, they are never fully trapped in either. They are capable of questioning what others accept, of sensing the unseen forces that shape the visible, and of holding within them a perspective that bridges the tangible and the intangible. It is a lonely place to stand, but it is also a powerful one, for it allows them to witness life not as a flat surface, but as a layered tapestry of hidden truths and unfolding possibilities. There are gifts in life that come wrapped not in ease, but in complexity. They carry within them both light and shadow, both blessing and burden. For the intuitive introvert, intuition itself is such a gift. It allows them to perceive the hidden structure beneath the surface of things, to sense the invisible patterns shaping reality, and to grasp meaning where others see only chaos. But the same faculty that sharpens their perception also sharpens their pain, for to see too much is sometimes to feel too much, and to sense what others cannot is often to stand alone. The double-edged nature of this gift becomes apparent in the smallest of moments. In conversation, where most hear only words, the intuitive introvert detects tone, rhythm, hesitation, the subtle shift in the eyes that betrays a thought left unspoken. This ability creates profound understanding, but it also creates a heaviness, for they cannot easily ignore what they perceive. To know the hidden motives, to sense the quiet sorrow beneath a smile, or the insecurity beneath a boast, is to carry knowledge that often has no outlet. Others laugh lightly at jokes, while the intuitive introvert feels the sting of what lies beneath them. What seems harmless to one feels piercing to another, because perception refuses to stop at the surface. This depth of vision can inspire creativity, compassion, and profound wisdom. It fuels the artist who translates unseen truths into form, the healer who senses wounds before they are spoken, the thinker who recognizes patterns long before they emerge into collective awareness. But the same perception can isolate them, for those around them may not understand how or why they know what they know. Their insights may be dismissed as overthinking, their sensitivity mistaken for weakness, their silence misunderstood as disinterest. The world does not always reward those who see beyond its illusions. More often, it is uncomfortable in their presence. The intuitive introvert carries a sensitivity that makes connection both deeply meaningful and deeply difficult. When they find a soul who resonates with their depth, the bond is unshakable, almost transcendent, for it touches the very core of their being. But in the absence of such resonance, they feel painfully alone, surrounded by people and yet unseen. Their gift allows them to crave relationships that are rooted in authenticity and truth, yet such connections are rare, and the scarcity makes the longing all the more intense. The gift of deep connection, then, becomes also the curse of deep isolation. There is also a burden of foresight. To intuit it is not merely to see what is present, but to glimpse what is forming. They may sense the coming fracture in a relationship long before the words of parting are spoken. They may anticipate the collapse of a plan that others still cling to with hope. They may see potential in a person who does not yet believe in themselves, or danger in a path others rush down with confidence. This foresight can be invaluable, but it is also lonely, for when they speak, they are often unheard until time proves them right. To carry visions that others dismiss is to live in a constant tension between knowing and being believed. Even in solitude, the gift is double-edged. The same imagination that allows them to journey inward, to discover symbols, archetypes, and truths buried in the psyche, can also overwhelm them with intensity. Their inner world is alive, but it can be too alive, filling them with restless energy, dreams too vivid to ignore, and emotions that swell like tides. Solitude brings renewal, yet it also amplifies the voices within, and without balance, those voices can become consuming. It is in this way that the gift cuts both ways. It enriches and it wounds. The intuitive introvert walks a path where clarity and confusion coexist, where connection and isolation intertwine, where wisdom and sorrow grow from the same root. To deny the gift would be to live shallowly, but to accept it fully requires strength, for it demands constant navigation between extremes. The gift opens doors that remain closed to many, but it also requires carrying truths that others would rather not see. To sense deeply is to live with both wonder and weariness, to be attuned to beauty while also attuned to the fractures beneath it. This is the paradox that defines them. Their greatest strength is also their greatest struggle, and their deepest insight is inseparable from their deepest solitude. The life of an intuitive introvert is often marked by a strange paradox, for what others see as quietness or withdrawal is in truth a profound engagement with the hidden layers of existence. Yet this gift of vision carries within it a curse, and it is a curse seldom visible to the outside world. It is not the kind of burden that announces itself with noise, but rather the silent weight of knowing too much, of feeling too deeply, of existing in a realm that others cannot or will not enter. The hidden curse begins with the very sensitivity that defines them. The intuitive introvert does not pass lightly over experiences. Every word, every gesture, every silence carries significance. A single conversation can echo in their mind for hours as they unravel its meaning, dissect its undertones, and question the motives behind it. Where others move easily from moment to moment, they are tethered to the unseen implications of what has transpired. This constant analysis, though unchosen, becomes a shadow companion, making even simple encounters heavy with meaning. The curse is not that they see too little, but that they cannot stop themselves from seeing too much. In a society that values clarity, certainty, and speed, such depth becomes a disadvantage. The intuitive introvert speaks carefully, often pausing to consider the weight of their words, but in a world intoxicated with immediacy, their caution is mistaken for hesitation, their depth mistaken for distance. They may feel invisible in conversations where quick wit and confident banter reign supreme, though within them lies a reservoir of insight that no one pauses long enough to hear. The curse reveals itself in this dissonance: to carry truths within, but to have no audience for them, to long for authenticity in a world enthralled by appearances. The curse extends also to their solitude. While solitude nourishes them, granting space for reflection and renewal, it can also deepen their sense of exile. They withdraw to preserve themselves, yet in withdrawing they feel the ache of separation. Their very nature demands space, yet their humanity longs for connection. To oscillate between these poles is to live in a tension that few understand. Others see only the choice to be alone, but do not perceive the longing behind it. Thus, the intuitive introvert becomes both guardian and prisoner of their own inner world, sustained by solitude and wounded by it at the same time. There is also the burden of invisibility. The intuitive introvert often observes dynamics that others miss, perceiving undercurrents in relationships, structures of power, or hidden wounds in those around them. Yet to speak these perceptions aloud risks rejection or dismissal, for most prefer the comfort of surface-level narratives. And so they learn to remain silent, to withhold what they know, to protect themselves from misunderstanding. This silence, repeated again and again, becomes a mask, a way of blending into the world while carrying the loneliness of unspoken truth. The curse is not only the solitude of being unseen, but the silence of being unable to reveal what they truly see. The hidden curse reaches deeper still into their own psyche, for what they perceive in others, they cannot help but perceive in themselves. The intuitive introvert is constantly aware of their own contradictions, their own hidden motives, their own shadow. They cannot easily distract themselves with the noise of the external world, because their inner world is alive with voices, images, and questions that demand attention. This relentless self-awareness, though a path to growth, is also a source of suffering. While others move forward unburdened by reflection, they pause, question, and confront the depths of their own being. To live with such constant awareness is both clarifying and exhausting, a reminder that the gift of intuition always carries its darker twin. At times, the curse manifests as alienation. To be among others yet feel apart, to understand without being understood, to sense truths that cannot be spoken. This is the quiet exile of the intuitive introvert. They may long for community, yet feel more alone within a crowd than they do in solitude. They may crave dialogue, yet retreat when they realize the conversation will not reach the depths they seek. It is not pride that creates this separation, but difference, a difference that cannot be erased, only endured. Thus, the hidden curse is not an external punishment, but an internal condition. It arises not from the world's cruelty, but from the very structure of perception that defines them. It is the price of seeing beyond the veil, of feeling the subtle vibrations that others ignore, of living in a reality too deep for easy belonging. The world does not conspire against them, but neither does it make room for them, and so they walk between visibility and invisibility, belonging and solitude, clarity and burden. The story of the intuitive introvert is not merely one of silence, solitude, or burden. It is the story of a soul that perceives the world with uncommon depth, a soul that pays the price of awareness yet carries within it a rare and irreplaceable light. Though their path may seem shadowed by loneliness, the very qualities that weigh on them are also the ones that grant them vision. And so, the hidden curse is never only a curse. It is also a reminder that within our depths lie both the trials that shape us and the treasures that guide us. Thank you